The Steelers, the Rooney family, family-owned. Heinz Ketchup, Permane Brothers, Iron City Beer. They got their own wing in Canton, folks.
You work your tail off. 5 seconds left. You dreaming? 3 rushes till we turn.
Today, we're counting down the top 10 Steeler players of all time.
How many Hall of Famers are on that team, man?
No easy task for a team with 18 Hall of Famers.
I couldn't make a top 10 list for the Pittsburgh Steelers. There were so many great football players.
I think it's virtually impossible to take the Steelers and make a list of 1 to 10.
The Steelers are the only franchise that matters in the league. All other teams pale in comparison.
There are 27 teams in pro football. And then there are the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Who put this together? I mean, what is this, a joke?
You have nothing compared to the Steelers.
We got the best offense, the best defense. What more do we need?
The history and tradition in Pittsburgh make this list possible, making it nearly impossible for a player without a championship to crack our top 10.
In Pittsburgh, you have to have been a champion.
Who did the most to help the Steelers win Vince Lombardi trophies?
Santonio with a touchdown!
You're talking about a franchise that has won 6 Super Bowls, unprecedented.
And the Steelers prevail
and win Super Bowl 43.
You are literally having to be one of the best of the best.
If there's a guy who hasn't won any of them, it's hard to get to the top of that list. It's hard to get on that list.
When you have a franchise that's won more Super Bowls than any other in NFL history, what other criteria can you use?
Our countdown features plenty of champions, but to be considered a top 10 Steeler of all time, there is one other key ingredient.
It's a blue-collar, hard-working town. They expect you to be the same way as a player.
Did they fit the mold of toughness?
Gritty guys. Guys are going to bang with you. Guys are going to...
Finding guys that met our criteria wasn't hard. Leaving them off the list was.
How could you not have a first ballot Hall of Famer on the list?
It makes the list an absolute joke.
You could make a top 10 list just based on the 70s Steelers.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are the champions of the National Football League for the 4th time.
I don't think 10 is enough for the Steelers. I think you got to do like a top 20.
I just don't think you can choose who 1 is.
Number 1!
And who do we leave off?
The number 10 Steeler of all time, the Bus, Jerome Bettis.
I think any guy with a nickname The Bus has to be on the list.
Go Bus! 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 Bus!
A guy who could just flat out run you over.
The bus is going to roll. The bus. Come on, ride this bus. You can ride it.
I got a little goofy. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round.
Round and round. Round and round.
The guy was unbelievable for the Steelers. What a horse.
The bus shakes him off like flies.
Here was this bruising back that was perfect for the Steelers offense. You talk about a perfect fit, hand in glove, my goodness. It didn't get any better than that.
Here comes the bus. He's got that can of steam. He's breaking tackles. He's still on his feet at the 30, the 25, the 20. The bus goes 43 express.
Jerome was just this big mass, wasn't real tall, a little pudgy little guy, and he fit that system perfect. Everything the Pittsburgh Steelers represented was embodied in that type of body, a Jerome Bettis body.
You know what? This is your city. Oh, man, no doubt. You know what? You're my guy.
Bill Cowher actually just rolled him from the line of scrimmage, and he just kind of knocked over defensive backs and linebackers like candlepin bowling.
When people say you fit that Steeler mold, is because I was tough, physical, and hard-nosed, and that's what I set out to be. I'll tell you, to be on a list with so many Hall of Famers is incredible.
My personal list, he's probably 11th or 12th.
How could you dismiss him with the yards he has? To me, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer and should be. How could you not have a first ballot Hall of Famer on the list?
Despite retiring 5th on the NFL's all-time rushing list, guiding the Steelers to their 5th Lombardi trophy gets Jerome Bettis on our list.
We
We're champions of the world, baby!
But if it weren't for one miracle tackle, he wouldn't be on the list at all.
He was a passenger. He stole that ring. He meant nothing to that team. He almost blew it when he fumbled on the goal line against Indianapolis in the playoffs.
Here's the give to Jerome. He has it. The ball is fumbled. And the Colts pick it up.
It was like, God, I don't believe this. Is this how it's supposed to end?
Jerome might be remembered as a GOAT. Jerome Bettis was a shoestring tackle away from the NFL's ultimate humiliation.
He tackles him at the 43-yard line.
If Ben doesn't make the tackle, Jerome Bettis is Bill Buckner. He would have been remembered as the guy who blew it, and everything he had done up to that point would have been forgotten.
I doubt if I would be on the top 10 Steelers list if Ben didn't make it.
The reason he did make our list is summed up by one play.
I remember one time in the snow, the Bears came to Pittsburgh.
It was a field a day made for Jerome.
Ride the bus.
Ride him.
He got his no tires on.
He was the boss that day, and he just plowed over Urlacher.
If you would say, show me what the bus is all about, I'd play that play for you. That's what the bus is all about.
Jerome Bettis just wasn't going to be tackled. You know, this is one of the best middle linebackers playing the game, and he was roadkill.
That ain't so tough. Smash my football, baby. Pittsburgh style.
That defined Jerome Bettis. Give me a little, I'm going to take a lot, and I'm going to get to the end zone.
This is a list of Pittsburgh players, but if it was a countdown of top 10 Steelers, number one would have to be Art Rooney.
I know for you, the big thrill was being able to deliver to the city of champions, your beloved Pittsburgh, this trophy.
Rooney's Steelers have been the model of consistency. They've had only 3 head coaches since 1969. Chuck Noll won 4 Super Bowls, more than any head coach in NFL history.
How I approach it really doesn't affect how the games turn out.
Bill Cowher went to 6 AFC championships before winning the Lombardi Trophy in Super Bowl 40, but it's a Super Bowl MVP who made our countdown.
The number 9 Steeler of all time, Lynn Swann.
Where's Stallworth?
Lynn Swann is the only wide receiver from the 70s to make our list.
No John Stallworth on this list. First of all, Swann and Stallworth should probably be a duo.
I might have had to have a combo.
Individually, they wouldn't have been as good.
If Chuck Noll had a salary cap, who'd be gone? Swann or Stallworth? Would you like to make that decision?
Why did we decide to have Swann over John Stallworth? He played better in big games.
Lynn had the knack for the big play at the most clutch time. I think he would have kept Swann.
If we're having a pickup game, I'm taking John Stallworth.
75-yard strike to Johnny Stallworth.
Swann over Stallworth. That was a gutsy call on you guys' part, picking Swann over Stallworth.
So why is Swann only number 9 on our list? He was a ballet dancer in a blue-collar town.
You're talking about a team that was known for its tough, hard-nosed, blue-collar football. Lynn Swann took ballet lessons. He didn't fit the mold. Just seemed un-Steeler-like, in my opinion. I'd have to knock him down a peg for that.
Everybody on a football team can't be a tough guy. There's got to be room for ballet guys.
Lynn Swann, soft. Have you ever seen the forearms he took from the Raiders? I mean, just beaten and brutalized. He came back and played. That guy was tough.
My job is to go out and catch the ball. And as a receiver, if I want to be effective and good, I cannot go out and worry who's behind me when the ball's in the air.
Come on. He is a crybaby from jump street. Not only that, the guy, he was a good football player, but he was soft.
George Atkinson, who never sold a ticket in his life, never interested in anybody in the game of football, would knock him out and get away with it.
They're villains. They're criminals. Raiders are doing whatever.
Lynn Swann persevered. In his own way, he was very tough.
The public doesn't realize that. They think, oh, how graceful he is. He's a swan. You look at his name. Lynn would stick his nose in there. He's like a prize fighter. He could have played on our defense.
Oh, he belongs in the top 10 Steelers of all time, no question.
This is Lynn Swann. Lynn freaking Swann.
Lynn Swann is poetry.
Acrobatic catches, Baryshnikov, and cleats.
For this Baryshnikov and cleats, all the field's a stage. For 9 seasons, Lynn Swann lived in the sky for one precious moment after another. But when championships were contested, he literally rose to the occasion.
What he did in big games is what takes him to the next level.
Swan's championship performances are among the best in Steelers history. 2 catches he made in Super Bowl X earned him a spot on our list and the game's MVP.
Lynn Swann's levitating leap was one of the great catches in football history.
That was the first time in the Super Bowl era that there was a play that we could watch over and over and over again. Just his involvement in that play, even if he had never done anything else, puts him among the top 10 Steelers of all time.
Everybody talks about the one where he was falling down, but the better catch was to catch on the sideline.
Lynn Swann's kangaroo catch put Pittsburgh in close.
Nobody had bigger plays and bigger games than Lynn Swann.
What is that you're holding right there?
This is the game ball for the Super Bowl. It's all mine.
Lynn Swann, you were super today.
This guy came up big when he had to come up big. He was a clutch performer. Probably a big reason why he's on the list.
The number 8 Steeler of all time, Hines Ward.
Hines Ward, the most underrated great wide receiver of our time.
He's what Lynn Swann isn't.
Maddox fires to the goal line. The pass is caught by Hines Ward, and he fights his way to the end zone.
Yeah, I call him Wines hard.
Hey, way to move it. Hey, we got it.
No matter how successful he is, how many catches he makes, how many Super Bowls he wins, he always has something to complain about.
Let him go after he tried to break it.
That said, he's an awesome receiver.
He has more receptions than anybody in the history of the franchise, which includes 2 guys in the Hall of Fame.
Fires back to the end zone. Touchdown, Pittsburgh.
That's how you play, baby.
This is a guy who was not a high draft pick, had to prove everything.
End zone. Touchdown, Pittsburgh.
When he smells the end zone, nobody brings him down.
Hines Ward became a receiver Steeler fans could love with all their thirst for work ethic.
Since he arrived in Pittsburgh in 1998, our number 8 Steeler has taken some tough hits, but none like the ones he dishes out.
He is the toughest wide receiver ever to play the game.
I tell you what, Hines Ward is tough as nails.
Whoever's second is not a very close second.
86 to deliver. Let's go. Everybody be cool.
How many wide receivers do you know would rather hit people than catch?
Yeah, don't look over here for an elbow bust in the mouth.
I don't think he's dirty, no. I think he plays within the rules.
If you always have to wonder where Hines Ward is because he might come up behind you and hit you, I don't think that is the way that most players will play the game.
They changed the rules to keep him from blindsiding people and knocking them out and breaking their jaw like he did to Keith Rivers of the Cincinnati Bengals a couple years back.
That's just a good block by Hines Ward. I mean, there's nothing dirty about it. I mean, this is football. Just a hard block.
I'm going to eat his ass up.
With 4 Pro Bowls, 2 Super Bowl rings, and a Super Bowl MVP, it's no wonder why number 86 is number 8 on our list.
Going to throw it down the field. There's a man open. Touchdown, Pittsburgh! Hines Ward! And the Steelers prevail.
Hines Ward epitomizes Pittsburgh Steeler football.
Is he better than Swann? No way. Is he better than John Stallworth? No way.
He's got it inside the 10, and he's got a Steeler touchdown.
He should be on the list. Absolutely.
And you can put it in the books.
A trio of hard-hitting linebackers just missed cracking our list. 7-time Pro Bowler Andy Russell won 2 Super Bowls as a member of the Steel Curtain, but he's not in the Hall of Fame like fellow linebackers Jack Ham and Jack Lambert.
I think Russell gets shortchanged. I think he was very much important to that linebacking core.
Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green combined for over 200 sacks and 10 Pro Bowl appearances.
The second time today that Greg Lloyd has forced a fumble.
But they never could capture one for the thumb.
Kevin Green, great pass rusher, but especially he's not a great all-around linebacker.
Hey, fight him, baby, fight him.
Greg Lloyd, very short prime.
I'm going to bust his ass.
If we would have won a Super Bowl, our linebackers will be mentioned with the great assembly of linebackers throughout NFL history.
The next Steeler on our list did not win a Super Bowl. He won 2.
The number 7 Steeler of all time, Troy Polamalu.
I don't know if Troy should be on the list yet.
I don't think it's premature to put him on that list, and I'd have him high on the list.
He's just one terrific football player. You know, he's got the hair. The hair kind of makes him a little flamboyant.
How did you get your hair like that? In fact, how long does it take him to comb it? That's what I want to know.
He uses a lot of conditioner.
And they
what a
tried to
play
sneak
by
it.
Troy.
Oh, Troy came up over the top.
Superman. What a play.
It's just like Cousin It going and tackling somebody. It's just this big whirling dervish of hair.
It does seem to be a dichotomy that we're talking about Troy Polamalu's lush and soft hair.
My goal was to somehow pull his hair.
Across midfield and dragged down by Larry Johnson from behind. He grabbed him by his hair.
He got the hair.
If you have really long hair and you can't play, you're out of town.
The guy's the anti-Steeler. The hair, he goes to 2-hour church services. I haven't been to 2 hours of church in my life. There is nothing about this guy that screams tough except the way he plays.
Polamalu picks it up, then he flattens Curtis Martin.
Troy Polamalu is the biggest hitter in Steelers history.
Big hits aren't the only reason Troy Polamalu is number 7 on our list. His big plays have made Pittsburgh's defense one of the best over the last decade.
Especially today. I need you, all right? I need you today, man.
The American Football Conference Championship game.
And no play was bigger than the one that sent the Steelers to Super Bowl 43.
Troy's one of those guys the other team will stay away from because sometimes a trip to that neighborhood just isn't worth it.
That is intercepted. Troy Polamalu at the 40, 35-30.
Troy Polamalu will change a game. In that one play, Polamalu ended the season for the Ravens.
I like to call him the Tasmanian devil of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Athletically, he can do things that no other safety can do.
Wow. I think he could do that. He has closing speed. It's just amazing. On television, you don't see Troy in the screen. And all of a sudden, you see this thing darting to make the play. It's just like a jet comes out of nowhere.
Plays like a guided missile.
What, does he have rocket boosters in his shoes or something?
Polamalu came diving over the line.
Troy Polamalu said, no way.
Polamalu's presence changes everything.
He's the whole key to that defense.
You cannot say enough about what he means to that Steelers team.
You're a funny guy.
When this guy is healthy, isn't a better safety in the game. Clearly, he's right up there on the list, and I think you give him a couple more years, he stays healthy, he could be the number 1 name on that list.
Troy Polamalu's a great player, but we're talking about the Steelers, okay?
He should be high on any list, Steelers or otherwise.
Gosh, it's a lot of Hall of Famers for the Steelers.
He is not there with Rod Woodson and some of those other great safeties.
We had some great safeties. Mike Wagner, Donnie Shell. Troy is probably better than those guys.
I hope all those Hall of Famers are on the list before Troy. Because if there's a Hall of Famer left off that list, then there's an argument to be made.
The number 6 Steeler of all time, Mel Blount.
1975's brightest star was a quarter-horse rancher from Slidell, Louisiana, named Mel Blount.
If you look, I think you could bump him up a little bit.
Probably the best corner that I think ever played in the National Football League is Mel Blount.
Mel Blount came up with the interception.
So why is Mel Blount number 6 on our list? He's got the most interceptions in Steelers history, and he's one of the most notorious hitters in NFL history.
The guy goes up for a pass, Mel Blount would lay you out.
Mel Blount dumped him.
At that time, Mel Blount could beat up a receiver.
It's a completely different game then.
There was no restrictions. As long as they could keep contact with him, they could bump him all over the field.
Who hit defenseless receivers hard? You were Mel Blount.
Blunt. Blunt. No, who put this together? I mean, what is this, a joke? Who hits defenseless receivers the hardest? Me or Mel Blount? Quite naturally, Mel Blount.
Our number 6 Steelers hitting even spawned a few urban legends.
A lot of people don't know this. Mel Blount killed 2 wide receivers during the 70s. Literally beat them to death. We didn't have the replays, all the different camera angles then that we do now. They just got these 2 guys, borderline players, not really missed, didn't make much money. Their families figured, hey, we can do better. Don't press charges. Take the settlement from the league. Very well-kept secret, very hushed up.
Conspiracy theories aside, the league had to do something about Blount. In 1978, they changed the rules of contact between wide receivers and defensive backs.
The thing that we tried to do in the competition committee was to try to make the game as exciting and appealing to the fans as we could make it.
Every year, the National Football League comes up with some rules changes.
This year, the most important changes concern pass coverage and the interaction between receivers and defenders.
They're going, well, all right, the Steelers are dominating, and nobody can throw the football on Mel Blount because he's just mugging receivers all over the place.
You don't want the star receiver knocked down or engulfed by somebody.
So let's just outlaw Mel Blount.
But you got to have a positive attitude, and you got to believe in yourself.
When they changed those rules, it made me prove to the NFL that we still can play and we still be the best.
And they still won Super Bowls after that.
Of his 5 Pro Bowls, he went to 3 after they changed the rules to supposedly negate Mel Blount.
Mel Blount's got to be higher because not only was he one of the greatest defensive backs of all time, he single-handedly changed the rules of football forevermore.
And now, the number 5 Steeler of all time, Jack Lambert.
When the Steelers went to scout Jack Lambert, the field is in such bad shape that they're actually practicing in the parking lot. And Jack Lambert is practicing like it's a game. A couple of times he makes diving plays and comes up and picks embedded gravel out of his skin and goes back for more.
Jack Lambert's trademark toughness isn't the only reason he's on our list. He did win 4 Super Bowls and go to 9 straight Pro Bowls.
Any poll taken these days, Jack Lambert's number 1 in the hearts of Steeler fans.
Jack! I had come all the way from Mexico to see you, man! This is my dream!
Lambert is the favorite son of every man, woman, and suspicious-looking character in the Pittsburgh area.
I was one of Lambert's lunatics, right? I was a Lambert lunatic. I mean, he was the real deal.
Boy, if you're talking about image, could there be anybody greater in the Steelers' history than Jack Lambert? It's kind of like looking at Dick Butkus with the Chicago Bears.
I think Lambert should be higher. I think Lambert took the Butkus position to the next level.
At 220 pounds, Jack Lambert fills the middle like a slender Dick Butkus.
He should be far and away at the top of this list. Jack Lambert is Steelers football, and you just have to wonder, without Jack Lambert, would that team have coalesced?
If Jack Lambert was never drafted by that team, I think they would have been a great team and maybe the team of the 70s. I don't think they would have won 4 Super Bowls.
You could put a face with the Steelers, it would be Jack Lambert's face.
It's a face only a mother can love and only a franchise can embrace, and that's what the Steelers did. He was their face.
To me, you can't be the face of the franchise unless you have more teeth.
I used number 5 because he only had 5 teeth in his mouth.
He looked like a Halloween mask with his teeth out. That's how ugly Jack Lambert was.
Oh, you
Jack Lambert frightened you.
I wasn't afraid of anybody out there, whether they were on my team or the opposing team.
I always kid him about, of all people have daughters who date, it's you. Could you imagine walking up to Jack Lambert's house, knocking on the door, and you say, Mr. Lambert, I'd like to date your daughter. Just imagine what it's like on the field.
Hey, cool your ass off.
Our number 5 Steeler earns high marks not just for having a mean mug, but also a mean disposition.
So Jack Lambert is best known for having no teeth and a sweet stash. Great. Really tough dude.
Pass intercepted, picked off by Jack Lambert.
He was so aggressive out there. There was nothing that was going to get in his way.
I'm sure Jack Lambert's a nice guy, but on a football field, what a mean son of a gun, boy.
So why isn't Lambert higher on our list? He benefited from playing with the Steel Curtain defense. He was just one of many vital components on that unit.
And that Steel Curtain, you had to block everybody.
He's number 5?
It's hard to imagine there are 4 Steelers better than Jack Lambert.
For this guy to be 5th on a list of all-time Steelers, that cannot be. This guy is the epitome of a Steeler linebacker.
That tells you about the depth of the organization with good players and outstanding Hall of Famers.
If Jack Lambert were with another team, I don't know if many people would be ranked ahead of him. It's possible here because there's so many great players.
The number 4 Steeler of all time, Rod Woodson.
4. How can you have him above Jack Lambert? How can you possibly have him above Mel Blount?
I don't know if I can put myself in front of Mel.
No way. When you start talking about the Steelers, that Mel Blount, when it comes to defensive backs, should be behind anybody.
I think Mel should take that spot, and I should jump back up to 7 or so.
It was a
great player for them, player of the decade.
Yoy and double yoy. What another big play by Rod Woodson.
He could run, he could jump, he was athletic.
He could do it all. I mean, he was a great football player.
We own the division, baby.
He was really good at Super Tecmo. Really, really fast.
When he got the ball after he made interceptions, some of the best running you'll ever see by anyone.
Here comes Rod Woodson. See you later.
If you're looking at it purely in terms of performance, football ability, how dominant he was out there on the field, heck, Rod might be the #1 Pittsburgh Steeler of all time.
Rod Woodson goes all the way for the Steeler touchdown.
You gotta take it serious when you come play us.
Our number 4 Steeler went to 11 Pro Bowls and remains the only player to be selected as a cornerback, safety, and kick returner.
I think maybe when I played in my time frame, there was better cover corners.
Intercepted by Woodson.
There might have been some better safeties.
I asked for a big defensive play, and Rod Woodson come through.
I think there might have been some better kick returners.
Woodson came right through Kansas City like water through a sieve.
But I think putting that all together in a package, I was proud of that.
Talent and versatility are important, but to be this high on our list of Steelers, you have to be tough.
In 1995 season, he blows out his ACL early in the year, and almost unprecedented. The Steelers carry him all year with really one shot, and one shot only for him to play, and that's in a Super Bowl.
Just the act of keeping that roster spot open says a lot. Rod was in the right place at the right time. You know, he had a coach, Bill Cowher, where a lot of people would have put Rod on injured reserve. Welcome to the NFL.
All the credit goes to Bill Cowher. I'm like, I can make it back. And he looked at me kind of like crazy, like, well, let me think about this. And then the next day he came to me and said, we're going to keep a spot open for you. And I got to play in the Super Bowl.
Just the fact that he came back from that, when most people thought he would never come close, shows you what kind of drive this guy had.
Rod Woodson, many thought he'd never play this year, and he worked and worked.
Despite our number 4 Steelers effort, Pittsburgh lost Super Bowl 30. So why isn't Woodson higher on our list? He did win a Super Bowl with one of Pittsburgh's most fierce rivals, the Baltimore Ravens.
Rod Woodson truly was a great player who is so good he can transcend the fact that of all those Super Bowl teams, he wasn't on any.
I know he didn't win a Super Bowl with Pittsburgh, but he kept that black and gold tradition of hard-hitting, hard-nosed defense alive.
The lack of Super Bowls is not Rod Woodson's fault. Mel Blount, great player, but he also played with Jack Lambert. And me and Joe, how many other Hall of Famers were on the team with Rod Woodson? Probably not many.
The shame of it is O'Donnell threw it right to him. There was no receiver out there.
There's some great Pittsburgh Steelers. To be at 4, man, I'm honored just to be remembered.
When you have a team that's won 6 Super Bowls, some guys got to get left off.
Alan Faneca just missed our list. In 10 seasons with the Steelers, he was selected to 7 consecutive Pro Bowls and sprung the key block in Super Bowl 40.
And they hand it to Willie Parker. Finds a lane. He's on his way. Look out. Quick race, 45-50. Willie Parker, 75 yards. Willie, touchdown.
Dermontti Dawson played in 170 consecutive games at center.
We'll get on the ass. We're just going to get this blocking together on that side.
Hall of Famer Mike Webster won 4 Super Bowl championships.
Now, granted, the Steelers have so many good players, but not to have a guy like Mike Webster on there, that's a pretty tough call.
Mike Webster, God bless his soul.
But to make our list, you have to be immaculate.
The number 3 Steeler of all time, Franco Harris.
I think you could make the argument for Franco Harris at number 2.
The one play that you remember with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Immaculate reception.
Oh, it's the greatest thing ever.
And there's that great shot that was captured of him catching the ball.
And there's a collision. And that's caught out of the air.
First off, he trapped the ball, and everybody knows that.
Wasn't a catch. I can't stand those people. It's the greatest thing that ever happened in the history of the free world. It was bigger than Jesus rising on the 3rd day.
The moment where it appeared that the clouds were parting and finally the Steelers were going to be a consistently competitive team, it came when Franco Harris caught that ball.
Franco really showed us that we could win, because before Franco, we did not win.
From out of nowhere came Franco Harris, riding a white stallion and galloping off into the sunset.
When you have a definitive play in your career, sometimes that's a curse because it takes the focus off of how good the player was.
All they remember is that catch.
That catch kick-started a dynasty in Pittsburgh, but it also overshadowed the fact that Franco Harris retired as the second leading rusher in NFL history.
The numbers would put him on the list, but I don't think he would be as high.
That play just was the dollop at the top. A great play on top of a great career.
It was the catalyst for a great career, but I don't know if Franco Harris needed the immaculate reception to be a Hall of Fame running back.
I think he's still on your list without making that catch, but it represented a breakthrough for the Steelers as an organization.
Frank Harris, in many ways, was the anti-Steeler. When you think about the Steelers, you think of toughness, gritty guys who are going to bang with you, guys that sort of thing. Franco Harris was none of that.
The only thing I never liked about Franco was the fact he tiptoed out of bounds.
At the line of scrimmage, Franco made elusiveness look elegant. But he often evaded unnecessary punishment at the play's end by running out of bounds, a style that offended those who would confuse bravado with bravery.
Jim Brown was the man who said, how come Franco Harris, when he's going to get hit on the sidelines, continuously runs out of bounds?
For me to run out of bounds because of a collision is to admit weakness.
Why would you run into three people? How stupid is that?
If we were behind, if we needed that extra yard, he never stepped out of bounds.
He was a thinking man's running back.
It probably added years to his career and yards to his resume.
It was smart.
That doesn't make him smart.
The thing was to play smart. Those excuses for what I would consider weaker minds.
Jim Brown did not vote on this Pittsburgh Steelers list. That's the only way Franco Harris would get to 3.
Franco's great because he's the only guy with his own Italian army. I mean, there's an entire Italian army at every Steelers game for this guy.
Franco.
Of course he's a top 3 Steeler of all time.
Let's prove again we have a running game.
What's red, green, and white, man? What's that? Red, green, and white.
Italian flag, man.
The Italian army was great.
The Steelers are so great, and they play the best of all.
It did a lot for his career. Everybody belonged in Franco's Italian army then. Even if you were Irish, you joined the Franco's Italian army.
To take our Pittsburgh to the Super Bowl.
When you think about a running back, he was the cream of the crop.
Franco's ability to transform into an army of one in the playoffs is the reason he's number 3 on our list.
Franco Harris has become the first player in Super Bowl history to score 3 touchdowns in 3 Super Bowls.
When someone tells me that the regular season game is the same as the championship game, not to me it isn't.
He's one of the best ever in the postseason.
So he now has scored 17 touchdowns in postseason play, which adds to his own NFL record.
Big money running back. I mean, the guy really came through in the playoffs.
And he's had his 4th touchdown in Super Bowl play, and he's the only player to ever accomplish that.
Big game, there was no one better than Franco. No one.
Leaving off Hall of Famer Jack Ham was the most controversial decision we made while compiling our list.
Jack Ham shot him down.
Where's Jack Ham? I mean, you're talking about maybe the greatest outside linebacker ever.
Where to go, Jack Hammer?
Make it 11. Jack Ham needs to get on your list.
There's an interception by Jack Ham.
Jack Ham not being on this list invalidates the entire list. It makes the list an absolute joke.
We're splitting hairs, but Jack Ham made one less Pro Bowl than fellow linebacker Jack Lambert. The next Steeler on our list has no hairs left to split.
The number 2 Steeler of all time, Terry Bradshaw.
For a guy who couldn't spell cat if you spotted him in the C and the A, Terry Bradshaw's done pretty well.
Terry Bradshaw took dumb and made it into a weapon.
Yeah, I mean, I was dropping back and I could see the defense and stick him going in the weak zone and everything. I could see the whole picture. I knew exactly where to go.
Yeah. And it's called the 40. Holy smoke.
If that continues, that's going to be great.
He wasn't dumb. He couldn't have led the Steelers to 4 Super Bowls and made all the big plays.
It's caught for a touchdown to Rocky Blyer.
When our number 2 Steeler came into the league, he was the number 1 draft pick in 1970.
Living in the city of Pittsburgh didn't exactly one of my goals in life.
With Bradshaw calling the plays, the Steelers' goal was to have their first winning record since 1963.
There's the blonde bomber.
Bradshaw's back. The rush is on. He has to unload it. He does to Blyer. Blyer going in for the touchdown.
I always get a kick out of people talking about, how dumb he is. I don't know where that ever came from.
Bird, if you're watching, talk to my agent about my next movie. Make it a Western.
Oh, it's beautiful, Pittsburgh Steelers, the finest team around.
He's a pretty smart guy. He knows how to take an offense, work it, call it, execute it.
Just when you get around, just slow down so I can hit you like a hook.
Okay.
And we got all kind of running room.
He wanted people to think that. He realized that if people thought he was stupid, it was easier to get things accomplished.
There was one game, the Super Bowl, where Tom Henderson says you give him the first two letters and he can't spell cat.
Terry Bradshaw is dumb enough to spell W-I-N.
It's not like the old Steelers, believe me. The public, the football world might as well wake up and just take what I'm saying and heed it, because we're going to be a winner this year. I'm sure of it.
The blonde bomber earned 2 Super Bowl MVPs while leading the Steelers to 4 Super Bowl championships.
Bradshaw pumping, firing downfield. There goes Stallworth. He pulls it in at the 30, the 20, the 10, the 5, and it's a touchdown for Pittsburgh.
I often wondered that it bothered him that he doesn't get respect and his name's not mentioned when it comes to the top quarterbacks. But on the other hand, not many can hold up all these and shake it like Terry can.
Ladies and gentlemen, the blonde bomber, Terry Bradshaw.
Terry Bradshaw is number 2 on our list, but when it comes to Steelers quarterbacks, he'll always be number 1.
One makes a circus catch in the end zone.
There was nobody better in the game.
No one likes a loser. And it really takes something special to be a winner.
That sounds good. Keep on. That's all right. You keep going.
Now, the number 1 Steeler of all time, Mean Joe Green.
Out of all the players in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, if you had to pick one that showed how great this franchise was, it's got to be Mean Joe Green.
You start talking Pittsburgh, and first person normally comes to mind for most people is Mean Joe Green.
It would be hard for me to come up with a player that you'd put ahead of Mean Joe Green. He was an unbelievable force to reckon with.
He just took the game over.
Joe Green broke through to nail Staubach and caused a fumble.
It's greatness. Mean Joe had it. Coke and a smile.
In 1969, Chuck Noll's very first NFL draft choice was a little-known small college defensive lineman named Joe Green.
Mean Joe is our number 1 Steeler for one reason. Before he came to Pittsburgh, there was no such thing as the Steel Curtain.
People forget what a terrible franchise the Steelers were before the 70s.
Mean Joe Green brought to the Pittsburgh Steelers that thing that they had never really had, that toughness.
He changed the personality of that team.
Get Mean Joe Green in there. All of a sudden, you can start building pieces around them. You have an identity.
To opposing quarterbacks, he's the twilight of a career. To the Steelers, he's the dawn of a new era.
No one was ever more deserving of the moniker mean.
Just remember Joe has been a good football player and not really mean.
Mean one thing, nasty another thing. He was nasty. He just played the game with a vengeance in that area that he was responsible for.
If you were holding him, he didn't complain to the ref like today's defensive linemen do. He punched you in an area where it really hurt.
You just got to drive as deep as you can.
He sent his message by kicking the guy in the groin.
Those offensive linemen didn't like me a whole lot.
There are Cleveland Browns linemen out there somewhere who have a permanent imprint of Joe Green's fist in their nether regions.
Hey, Cleveland, how you like us now?
But Mean Joe's tactics of intimidation paid off.
You had to do so many things to block him that everyone else became freed up.
Without him, would Jack Ham have ever gotten free to go tackle a ball carrier? Would Jack Lambert have ever had an opportunity?
I would love to play behind him a little bit.
The presence of Mean Joe Green in the middle, taking up so much attention, wreaking such havoc, made all of those guys much better players.
When you only have 10 spots to work with, every great Steeler can't make the list. It was hard to leave off Hall of Famers and multiple Super Bowl winners, but at least some people feel our pain.
There's so many great Steelers, it's hard to pick which ones you're going to put at the top and which ones you're going to put at the bottom because they're all truly great players.
It would be impossible for me to say, okay, I'm down here to Terry Bradshaw. And I got Mean Joe Green over here. Oh, I really like Jack Lambert.
That'll cool your ass off.
Ooh, how about Mel Blount back here?
Mel Blount came up with the interception.
Hey, let's not forget about some of those great running backs they had over here.
That's caught out of the air.
Oh, and how about those wide receivers?
Claude makes a circus catch in the end zone.
I think it should be 2 lists with that franchise.